In physical work, progress is visible and it's audible. A carpenter building a house feels progress with every nail she drives into a timber. It has a sound. It is visual. Her team can feel collective progress with every rafter they raise. They can see the progress happening one day to the next. They can see how much there is to go. But in knowledge work, progress is much less tangible. Progress is not inherently visible. We need to make it visible. Because unlike construction, tasks like planning, design, software development, they can feel like nothing's happening when there's no clear signal of advancement. I was actually thinking of this as my 5-year-old was in the cow pasture behind our house. She started walking away from me. She was looking at the flowers all along the way. And then she was surprised how far she had traveled when she looked up. And she found I was 100 yards away. Even though she was watching her feet, she's taking step after step. She didn't realize how far she had traveled until she picked up her head to take stock. Now, humans are biologically wired to seek out signs for progress. Here's where it comes from. Dopamine is the goal-seeking chemical. It's present in humans and in animals. Now, we hear about dopamine all the time because it's what keeps us scrolling on our phones. It's part of our ancient brains. It's honed by evolution to reward small steps towards achieving a goal. Let me explain. Humans were hunters and gatherers until the agricultural revolution, which is just 12,000 years ago. Back then, it was unclear where our next meal would come from. This is before we started growing and raising our own food, which is what the agricultural revolution was. And so this is the brain that dopamine was evolved to serve. See, early man was often hungry. And when early man spotted an apple on a tree in a distance, he'd feel a bit of dopamine. It was a pleasant feeling indicating some relief was in sight in the form of a goal. And dopamine feels really good, especially compared to the feeling of the stress hormone cortisol, which he would feel in the stress of his hunger. Now, as he moves closer, the apple gets larger and appears larger, and this releases another hit of dopamine. And this implores him to keep going towards his goal. Remember, the dopamine feels better than the cortisol. And then he reaches the apple, right? He achieves the goal and he lives another day. Those who didn't, get the apple, they died. And so dopamine came through the evolution. So the point is we crave progress. And in knowledge work, we have to make the work visible so people can feel the progress we crave. So enter the transparent process. A transparent process is a tool that makes progress visible and audible. The transparency gives progress a sound. So tools like Kanban boards or JIRA, daily standups, these externalize progress. They make it click. It's like the sound of a hammer striking a nail. These clicks feed our innate dopamine systems. We can feel the progress happening. We can see when things are stuck. Just like spotting the apple on a tree triggered the dopamine from our ancestors, seeing a task move to done or hearing a status update creates a small reward that pulls us forward. Now, shared visibility reinforces team motivation when everybody can see all the progress that's being made. They can see the struggles. They can see the next steps. They can see what's left to do. It becomes easier to align and to support each other. It feels like a collective sense of purpose. So you got to make our processes transparent. Now, a process is important, right? A process is how you deliver repeatable results. Results without process is not repeatable. Process without results is futile, right? And so a lot of times process gets a bad name because of this process without results things. We feel like we're just like moving paper around and we're not actually making any progress. So those are processes that, those should be reworked or discarded. Processes deliver results consistently. It's how you make pizza, right? You make pizza using a recipe. This is an example of a routine process. So there's 3 types of processes. There are routine processes, there are complex processes, and there are creative processes. And each one of these is different. A routine process is a recipe. This is making pizza, right? Making pizza, you're just doing the same thing all the time. You're adding the same amount of flour, the same amount of salt, the same amount of yeast, the same amount of water, at the same temperature for the same duration. Like that is a recipe. You could be mowing a lawn. You could be tracking that a lawn was mowed. So even something like planning a vacation might be a complex process, right? You need to do the same things regardless of the vacation. You need to pick a destination. You need a budget. You need to figure out how to get there. You need to pack. You need to, take time off, which takes a whole another level of coordination. So there's, I don't know, like 6 things I just kind of rattled off the top of my head that might go into this complex process. So the way I execute each vacation, it's all going to be different, right? I might go on a beach vacation, I might go skiing, but I've picked the place, right? And so a complex process allows for some flexibility within the process itself, but also make sure that you like consider every element of the thing. And then there's creative processes, like design processes. Every successful culture has a design process. Pixar has a process that creates a perfect movie every time. That's why they've made, I don't know how many billions of dollars each movie has made. But they've developed a way that makes repeatably great films. And by the way, I saw Elio. It's a fabulous movie. I think more people should see it. But I'm also very interested in the development of Elio because somewhere in there, they didn't quite do some of the things that they say they do, like getting the script perfect before they start shooting. They were still revising the script last year. It delayed by a year. So something in there happened where they deviated from this process that has had them successful since 1995. That's 30 years. That's a long time. Apple has a design process. They call it the ANPP, the Apple New Product Process, the ANPP. So Apple has a process. Amazon has a process. NASA has a process. Like these are creative processes to make sure that you deliver the thing at the end of the day. It's the thing that everybody wanted. And you also do the marketing. You consider how to build, all those sorts of things. So there's 3 types of processes. There are routine processes, complex processes, and creative processes. The goal of the process is to deliver repeatable results. And a transparent process means you can see the progress happening. You get metrics directly out of the tools that you use to manage your progress. That's a big deal. Okay, that's it for today's episode. Today, we talked about the power of making progress visible, especially in knowledge work, where the signals aren't always obvious. We looked at how our brains are wired to crave progress, how dopamine drives us forward, and how transparent processes like Kanban boards, standups, shared updates give our work a sound that keeps us motivated and aligned. When your team can see their progress, hear the clicks of forward motion, and share in those small wins, you unlock the same ancient drive that once kept our ancestors moving towards the apple on the tree to solve their hunger. Make your progress visible. Feed that motivation and watch your team's momentum build. This is Lighthouse Leadership Podcast. I'm Evan Hickok. See you next time. Ciao.